Yo, what's up, everybody? What is happening? What up? What up? What up? What up? Maureen, I see you. What is happening? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? All right, moving around here. Oh, let me get this chair out of the way. Jody, what's happening? How are you, my friend? Feeling good? What's happening, everybody? What's happening? What's happening? What up, Darquan? How you doing, my friend? Hope you're doing good today. What up? What up, T Demand 62? What does 62 stand for? T Demand 62? What's going on with everybody? I hope everybody is feeling good today. What's up, Tyrone? Thank you, man. Oh, okay. Well, look, if you can compliment me on my shirt, I can say something nice about the Buckeyes. I'll help you with this one. OH, feel free to put it in the chat. Yo, Teddy, what's good? Is Indiana coming out of the Big Ten? Listen, Teddy, and the rest of America, I don't know where Indiana came from. Like, it is not supposed to be this way. We have a fellow Big Ten person in the room too as well. Like, I just don't know, like, how Indiana got so great. I mean, I do know it's NIL, it's other things. I do know that. But, like, Indiana's supposed to be good at basketball, right? Not at football, but they are crushing it right now. I definitely think they are the ones to beat nationally, and in particular in the Big Ten, outside of us. You know, I can't just give everybody credit without putting us in there. It's going to come down to here's my prediction, everybody. It's going to come down to that last game in the fall in November, Michigan versus Ohio State. And when we beat Ohio State, what you're going to see is Indiana is going to face Michigan for the Big Ten championship, and we will beat Indiana. So we will deliver them their one loss. And no, I'm not delusional. This is going to happen. But what all that to say, Indiana is looking really great, and they deserve their rankings that they have. Them boys have been balling. Them boys have been balling. Oh, my car. 62 stands for my car. That's a you had a car named 62? T Demand, we need more information. I don't know. Everybody in the room is like, we need more information from T Demand 62. What's up, Candid? Who are y'all hiding from? Y'all usernames are so complicated. I feel like everybody is like hiding from, like, as Jay-Z says, the alphabet boys, right? Like, are you hiding from the alphabet boys? Kalia Trisban 5240, what's happening? You're hiding too. Everybody's in the witness protection program. Like, no one has like regular Sally Sue. John Doe. Who y'all hiding from? What's up, LM? See, here we go again. LMNS2CW. Hey, Lisa from Atlanta. Everybody's hiding. Bonnie Lace. Okay, we're getting to a name. We're kind of now getting to a name with these handles. Oh, a 62 Impala. Got it. Aha. See, Tyrone, I had your back. Tyrone, do you think Indiana's going to take it all? What do you think? I think they got to come through Michigan or Ohio State. That's my prediction, Tyrone. Let me know what you're thinking. Hobo Cop, good afternoon, sir. Really enjoyed the interview with the cast of House of Dynamite. I watched it the day before, so it lined up perfectly good. When I tell y'all, if you have not gone into my YouTube page, we just dropped it, I believe, this morning or yesterday. Don't quote me. And it's also aired over the weekend. We did a show, Town Hall of the Cast of House of Dynamite, which is about like nuclear war, nuclear proliferation. You know, I got into my bag. It's all about nuclear energy, baby. It was so good. What up, Mika Boo? What's up? Now, Mika, is your name short for Tamika? I want to say that's what it is, right? I want to say that's what it is, but let me know if that is what it is, right? I want to be kind of clear. I thought Penn State would have been more competitive this season. Yeah, Cat does too. But listen, you know what I love about what Penn State did with their? I mean, I shouldn't say I love it. I don't like people like losing their jobs, right? But let's be clear, his contract's gonna be fine. Like he's not without income. But Penn State was like, yo, we gave you the contract you needed. We gave you your offensive coordinators, and we paid your offensive coordinators at what you want us to pay, and your defensive coordinators. You got your NIL money, and you don't put together 3 losses. The last one, according to Northwestern, they was like, we're done. Like there's like we gotta give it up here. I thought Penn State was gonna be much more impactful than they actually were. Alabama's struggling too. IU will beat Michigan. Justin, man, get out of here, my boy. Get out of here, Justin. Where are you from, Justin? Get out of here, my boy. Get out of here, my boy. Who are you rooting for, Justin? Let me know. Oh, my bad. You good. Now we know it's 62. What's up, everybody? Hook 'em. Texas has entered the chat. Okay, Texas. Archie Manning's overrated. That's it. I said it, and I said it with my whole chest. Just wanted to put it out there. Archie Manning is overrated for those in the back who didn't hear me. What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Mike Muse. As you guys know, for some of you who are new to this roll call, I love to figure out who's out there and what we're up to. What's up, Instagram, if you're new to us? But everyone who's been here has been rocking with us in the MuseRoom. Y'all know how it is. What's up, Facebook Live, too, as well? You guys are new, too, as well. We like to talk to people, meet the people, greet the people, talk to people, and warm up the room just a little bit. And do we got that email? Okay. And we got some update information for you guys too, as well, about some cool things that we're about to do and then we're about to launch. But it's been really good. Really quickly, who was watching this World Series game between Toronto and LA? I'm raising my hands. It's been so good. I'm actually glad that we're heading to another game and that we're going to have to take it a little further. I didn't want it to be a sweep. Like, this has been the most interesting World Series I think I've watched and like I've truly enjoyed, partly because I'm a Dodgers fan. Love Mookie Betts. What's up, my boy? I love Shohei Ohtani. What's up, my boy? I forgot to say what's up, my boy, in Japanese. But what a athlete these players are. Marine Dodgers, what's good? Do we have anybody here from Canada? Oh, Canada. I know I have a big Canadian following on the Mike Muse show. Deborah Cox saying, yes, it's for Mika Boot is short for Tamika. Okay, I was right. I knew it. I know I have a large Canadian audience on the Mike Muse show at SiriusXM, so I don't know if there's any Canadians that jumped in this chat yet here right now, but I think it's really interesting. All right, y'all, what do y'all want to talk about? What's on your mind? I have my thoughts, obviously, things that I want to talk about, but let me know what you're saying about. Care to speak on the shutdown, government employee? Okay. What I love is that we always have government, I do love that, that we have government employees that are here in the chat. What I was going to say, I want to be careful. I wasn't saying I love that the government is shut down. I'm like, okay, I'm not saying that. I'm glad that we have federal employees here. It kind of helps keep us rooted and grounded in the reason why we do this work, and to make sure that we tell the stories with care and with caution, and to make sure everyone's getting the most important and up-to-date information. Okay, so we got federal shutdown. You guys want to talk about anything else? Oh, my kid goes to USC, so go Trojans, fight on. All right, welcome to the Big Ten. 2 years. I'm gonna do a big USC Michigan tailgate next year when you guys come to the Big House. So Marine, you have to come. All right, you and your kid, you got to come. All right, I'm inviting you now. Anybody else who's a Trojan out there, you can come too as well. Out there. I want to just talk about a bunch of tech. There's so much information that's happening right now in tech and tech news. I want to unpack it because I want to make sure that we have an understanding of it. I like for the MuseRoom audience for you guys to be the smartest in the land. And I think I'm going to really lean on you guys to really help reach out to our elected officials to really get them to understand the severity of the challenge ahead of workforce displacement. Also, too, want to talk to you all about how to protect yourself from losing your job. So when we say workforce displacement, we're just basically meaning loss of jobs, right? And so I want to make sure I do my best to help you do your best to be of the less likely to be displaced due to artificial intelligence. And I think, too, I want to really help people understand the why these companies are being laid off. It doesn't make it right, doesn't make it better or anything, but I just want to make sure we have the full story and the full context. Yes, I had my lip balm in my hand. And I was like, wait, my lip balm's in a shot. I want to make sure that we tell We've told this full story. You know what it is really quickly about the lip balm cat and the rest of you guys? Like, I talk so much all day. Like, I just did 4 hours of the morning show. I was in the mornings, I was in the morning crew. 30 minutes of interview just now. So your lips get so dry that you need, need a lip balm. So I have my lip balm always on deck. And then also too, want to talk about what we can do next to prevent the workforce displacement. And then in particular, your students, and if you have kids in high school, middle school, elementary, and in college, how to prepare them to make sure they're thinking about jobs of the future, not that our jobs are more likely to be obsolete. All right, we ready? Let's dive into tech. The first up is going to be Amazon. Amazon lays off 14,000 people yesterday. And I think what part was the biggest news was there is this assumption that tech and automation is going to have one of the largest impacts on blue collar workers. But what came out through the Amazon layoff is that it is majority of the white collar workforce. And those are going to be the heaviest hit. Those jobs are particularly within sectors that can be automated. Right. And so that's important that I say that. I'm going to put a pin in there. I'm going to pick that up in a few moments. But here is why Amazon actually needed to do the layoffs. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I want to be very clear, but here's why they went for the layoffs. Amazon is trailing other big tech companies when it comes to creative generative AI products. They are far behind Google. They are far behind OpenAI. They are far behind Meta. They're also too behind Apple, which actually hasn't even started. Apple and Amazon are basically in the last place, if you will, in terms of really creating generative AI products. Generative AI products is like, think the easiest thing is ChatGPT, right? Everyone has a chat. Everyone is going to have an AI bot. Sora is out there doing videos. You're using some form of generative AI on a daily basis. Generative AI is the future. Generative AI is the future of our economy. Generative AI is going to be the future of work. Generative AI is transformational for our society. It's going to be transformational for environment, for climate. I mean, just so many things. It's all about generative AI. And so if you're a major tech company and you don't have any movement or traction within generative AI, you're behind, right? It's even to the point where you need to think about, do you create your own generative AI products, or do you go third party and partner with other companies that are already doing that? Apple is going to have to think about that soon. Apple is going to have to think about, do they want to invest in generative AI products of their own and build from the ground up? Or do they want to partner with, let's say, Google's Gemini, or they want to partner with OpenAI's ChatGPT? They already have some partnership forming already with ChatGPT with the latest Apple iPhone kind of launch that it is. Apple is more of a products company. And so they're not software. And so they're going to have to think pretty soon about that too as well. All that just to kind of give you more of a lay of the land around generative AI and the way that these companies are looking at it. So as a result, Amazon, their investors said, you need to rein in your spend and you need to tighten your margins. And by way of tighten your margins, you're going to have to lay people off. Amazon was one of the few companies, if not the only companies, that really scaled their workforce during the pandemic. So their company had the highest growth and expansion of the workforce during the pandemic era, right? And so as a result of that, they actually ballooned in their workforce. What they're doing now is, with this workforce reduction, it frees up cash flow. So now they can reallocate human capital and cash to actually do research on generative AI products. So this was all a play to help them shore up their margin and then to really hone in and focus on generative AI products. Again, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, right? I just want to give you guys the lay of the land of the why Amazon did exactly what it is that they did. So with that being said, we now have to look at the what's next, right? What's next is, how do we stop the blunt of this? How do we blunt the workforce displacement that is to come? You've heard me talk about this before. I am not Pollyannish on this idea that workers will not lose their jobs. There will be workforce displacement, but I don't believe it has to be as bad. And the way the current trajectory that we are on, it will be this bad and worse if we do nothing. If we do not get our elected officials on the local and state and federal level to do a couple of things. Rethink education, rethink our K through 12 public school system in order to make sure there is digital literacy that is being taught and that our kids have access to tech and STEM curriculum and classes. So there's some form of an introduction that is regarding that, how to think critically in this space, how to use generative AI or just chat GPT products, not as a replacement for thought, but as an additive productivity tool to enhance your already thinking. Because what studies are already finding is that students are graduating from college having used ChatGPT so much that they are failing once they get onto the job and losing their job because they haven't learned the critical analysis. The second thing is we have to start looking at our current workforce and how do you begin to upskill your skill set? Because let me tell you, white collar workers, hobo, I know you're blue collar. With the truck drivers, you and I talked about this previously, truckers going to be impacted too as well. So we want to keep talking hobo too as well about how truckers are going to be impacted too as well. But white collar workers, if you are in a job right now, just think about your work. Ask yourself a question. Can my work be automated? What I do from 9 to 5 at my job, can it be automated? I'm going to give you 3 seconds to think about it. Yes. If the answer is yes, you need to figure out what skill set can you add on to the work that you're already doing so that you are less likely to be displaced, meaning you're less likely. Oh, there I go. I'm back. I'm back, y'all. If you lose your job, could you go to another company to take your skill set to another company? Because now you have a job that maybe could be automated, but I've also too added this other skill. So now I become an invaluable part. If you have an automated job, you have to be thinking about this. But you know who else needs to be thinking about this? Our elected officials. They need to be thinking, how can we retool our workforce? How can we create vocational centers to send workers back to get certificates and training? How can we rethink the community college system? How can we think universities and colleges need to come together to prepare for the backbone of our future? And how should we rethinking vocational opportunities? There's going to be so many data centers that are going to be coming online that are going to need build, that is going to need electricians, that are going to need all different types of people to handle the scale of where we are. So how should we be thinking about workforce redevelopment? And then for your local and state officials, what companies could they come to attract into your cities, into your states that could help prepare all those jobs that will be lost, right? How can then we reposition them with new economies, right? How can we help bring data centers, very controversial, I know, but if data centers are coming into your state, into your city, you need to make sure you're demanding your elected officials to ensure that these data centers are promising them jobs, and even maybe how they can reinvest into community to make up for job losses that are coming as a result. Then we need to look at the policy perspective, right? We need to look at how can we ensure that when these companies are coming in, that they are coming in as being good partners, right? Europe is already ahead of us. Europe has what is called the Skills Union. They're already doing this. They already are reimagining education as part of the Skills Union. They're already reimagining workforce development, and they're already reimagining policies in order for these tech companies to be in good governance with local communities. Next is UPS. UPS, I saw it on people's Instagram, and it was really big conversation that was happening yesterday. UPS laid off, I think, almost 44,000 employees over this last year. That's a lot of individuals, right? It is part white collar, and on this one is also part blue collar. Here's why UPS is part of why they had to lay off as many people as they did. Tariffs. Tariffs played a big part of their decision and why they had to lay so many people off. As a result of the indiscriminate tariffs that the Trump administration has imposed for different countries, in particular China, it's hard for companies and corporations, to bring products and service and ship products and service and goods here. Also, there was a loophole that President Trump closed that allowed these companies to get away with being able to still being able to import goods under $800. Once that loophole closed, that closed the amount of goods that were being shipped here to the United States. UPS went from averaging around 3 million boxes and products down to 1 million. That's a heck of a drop. When you lose that drop, you're already scaled up already with drivers, port dock workers, right? So once that amount of products are dropped by 2 million, you have a workforce that's just sitting there not really working. So it's part of the tariffs that played a decision and made an impact into the business. The second thing that made an impact in his business, are you guys ready for this one? This one was an interesting note that I found, an interesting data point. They have decided to scale back and almost stop working with Amazon. I'm sure we've all received our packages and we ordered with Amazon. It's part Amazon's own logistical system and arm that delivers the packages. But also, too, they do have a partnership with UPS too as well. UPS said that most of their work with Amazon is no longer impactful from a profit perspective because the margins are so low, which makes sense. We all have like free Amazon shipping, free Amazon delivery, right? Or at a very much a minimum. So if you're doing minimum delivery fee and it's coming from UPS is probably seeing pretty much not a very insignificant amount of money that's coming from that. So it was ending the partnership or pretty much scaling the partnership way down with Amazon and with tariffs. That was part of it. And also, too, the challenge now going to be they're not going to be hiring that many seasonal workforce going ahead. And that's where UPS makes a lot of that's where UPS really scales their workforce is around now, the holiday time, where all the packages are going to be going. But because packages are coming in, aren't coming in at the rates they're coming in because of the tariffs, because of the fact that they're scaling and ending their partnership with Amazon, having these excess of workers really doesn't for their bottom line, right? Again, I'm not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong. Just want to make sure we have all the information and what goes into these decisions. And also too as well, they have centers all around, distribution centers all around the country, and globally too as well, all around the country. And so that stuff needs to become more automated. And they're also too losing a lot of white collar workers, right? So if you take those two instances together, these two ginormous companies losing as amount of employees at the way they are, now you know the why. But this is why I'm saying it's so important that we get our elected officials to take this serious. There is an alarm at the gate. There's a lot of people going to the unemployment line at one time at the end of the year. And for our politicians to still be toying over this idea of TikTok and, what is it not, and not just keep their eye on the ball of workforce displacement, they are able to take their eye off the ball is because we are not holding them accountable. We are not holding them accountable for them to get up to scale on technology, right? For them to get up to scale on generative AI, for them to get up to scale of compute and compute capitalism, to get up to scale on data centers, right? To know that it is coming. How can we work with these big tech companies in order to hold them accountable, hold them, to the fire, create opportunities within the cities that they are in, even if it's not to hire, but it's also to create opportunities within the city. How also too can we be how can the state and cities be of good partners with these companies to say, what type of workers are you looking for then, right? What type of workers are coming online, right? Are you going to hire maybe 100,000 workers? Because in the day, you still got to hire people. It's not that they're not hiring. This is the big tech companies. The big tech companies are hiring. Are they hiring now for data centers? Are they hiring to build data centers? Are they hiring individuals and vendors to work the data centers, to repair things that may go wrong with the data centers, right? Are they looking to build robots and go into robotics? So they need robotic engineers. They need robotic technicians, right? Do they need more data scientists, right? For you white collar workers, should you be looking at data science now? Because all these machine learning and generative AI, they're all built on what data sets, right? Who builds these data sets? Data scientists, right? So like even we're going to talk about DraftKings and betting in a minute. DraftKings and FanDuel, those are all data scientists, right, that are doing that. So do we need to be thinking about more data scientists, right? So it's just, how do we reimagine degrees? How do we reimagine what we're going to major in college, right? So I'm going to pause right there because I'm going to OpenAI, but OpenAI is a whole different dynamic that I want to talk with. But I just want to make sure we're tracking. I want to see how you guys feel about what I've discussed right now. What you think about the position that Amazon and that UPS had to take? Gray collars may be the way to go. There's other ways to go look at it too as well. Thank you, Ahiho. Hobocop, my daughter is interested in interior design. Going off of what you talked about on Sway, do you think AI could somehow take over that position, considering you can say a sentence and AI can make anything? That's a really good question, because AI, even when I was doing my apartment remodel a couple of years ago, I'm sure Kat did the same thing too as well. My designer sent over specs, right? And I saw my furniture, I saw the couch, I saw the layout, I saw the paint. So there is going to be AI that can do that. Now, here's the thing. I don't think, again, this is a really good example, Kat, because we don't really talk about interior design, because this is kind of that grayscale area, right? I would never trust an AI to get it right. You still need that interior designer, right, to put it in, to give you the lay of the land, what works, what doesn't, textures and feels. There's something about when you see it in person, when you're repositioning it, that is just different than a computer could do, right, to get the exact specs and the exact design. So I don't think it will replace. But I think that's the way that we have to think about AI, right? It's like, how can we use AI, generative AI products, as a tool to help your daughter interior design? Because if your daughter goes interior design and she knows how to really utilize generative AI products and tools, she can scale. Think about it from that way. So instead of having, just one client that she can only help service for 3 months, to be clear, Kat and I pretty much share the same interior designer. From commission, meaning when I started the project with him, to we're done, the paint was dry, was about 3 months, right? So he was with me for 3 months, but then he also had other clients, and there was a delay in us going back and forth. And I'm not saying that was an issue, but he's human, right? So imagine if you're an interior designer, you have an interior design firm, you can go from having one client to go to having maybe 10 in a month. And I'm just using random numbers. Say you charge $10 an hour. That's not their rate, but let's just say $10 an hour. But because you're doing generative AI and clients could use generative AI products as well, maybe you'll lower your rate to maybe $5 an hour. But if you scale and you have like 100 clients, you're going to be more than profitable, right? And you actually be more efficient. So that's a really good example of Hobocop. That's why I love Hobocop. Don't you ever not tune in, Hobocop, when it comes to this. My friend, the ELG, INW, we need names. But speaking of tech, Microsoft is currently having major outages similar to the AWS outage. What are they not telling us? LOL. Look, it's not about not telling us, right? It's just that at the end of the day, what we should be mindful of is, and how we're thinking about this, is that how connected we are to software and systems into these machines, right? That should be the concern of elected officials, this isn't the issue, but how can you ensure that our electrical grid system is stabilized? How are we looking at cybersecurity? Because now everything is online, everything is electric. How can we manage that system and that dynamic too as well? With the AWS outages, we're going to see more of that, folks. Like, we can't be Pollyannish on that. It's software. It's no different than when I got an example, back in 10 years ago, before it's AI, your cable will be out, right? All of a sudden you call your cable company and they'll say there's an outage in the area, right? So even when we're in analog days and we're still hardwired to utility poles, you still receive outages, right? So we can't expect that not to happen in this electronic, digital, and software era and age. But again, things to be prepared for and to be mindful of in terms of how dependent we are on this. All right, Instagram got a question. Kamikaze Deuce, learn SQL. It will help with data science if you all are interested. Really good call, Kamikaze. Thank you for adding that value to this conversation. Again, Kamikaze, you're with me too as well, right? It's all about how can you upskill, right? How can you really be thinking about this? I'm not saying you have to go back to school full time, but just certificates, maybe classes, workshops. What up, Shani? I don't know you're in here. What's good? Amazon just hired a lot of people in Jackson, Mississippi metro area to work at a data center. My son works here. There. See, that's what I'm saying. There is a shift of the human capital, right? As I mentioned earlier, a lot of it got taken out of HR. So if you think about HR, I'm not an HR person, but HR can be automated, right? And so let me take that back. There's a lot of job functionalities of HR that can be automated, right? And so in accounting, right? So there's something else you want to think about, right? Too, as well. Just if I am in HR, if I am in accounting, how can I upskill to ensure that I'm a value add to really understanding how this is going to work out, right? All right, let's see what else we got. Any other comments or questions? Wade, what up, Wade? Wade Chisholm, what's up, my boy? Glad to have you here today, man. Europe and Asia are always ahead of us when it comes to adjusting to the world's changing landscape. They are. In particular, Europe, Asia's in a different dynamic when it comes to systems, are ahead of us when it comes to systems, but Europe is always ahead of us when it comes to policy, particularly around tech. So Europe already has a data privacy laws in place. We don't. Europe already has AI regulations in place, and they kind of have to go to the EU, and that's a whole other thing, but they already are there. And they're already now looking at skills unions, right? And we're still focused on TikTok. You can say, I hate our government focus on TikTok. Don't even get me going about TikTok. If it was so much this national security, I'm about to digress for 5 seconds. If it was so much about national security, President Trump would not be extending it, right? Because he gets daily presidential briefings. If there is this catastrophe, that's a wink. There is this catastrophe that's coming on board because of TikTok, he would have ended it, but it's extended, right? And so, anywho, it's a shiny object to distract. And if we allow our elected officials to get distracted by TikTok and not focus on workforce replacement, shame on us. Cool Blue Lee, what trade would you recommend to get ahead or at least on board with AI that would be sustainable for a family? Really great questions. I would definitely look at programming. But also programming could be automated, but you still have to know some basics, right? I will also say, again, I keep talking about data science. When it comes to trade, I will look at robotics. I would look at robotics engineer isn't necessarily a trade as it is more so a degree, but I will look at like repair, robotics repair. I would look at like electronic repair. I would look at climate. I would look at clean energy. I would look at installing solar panels. I know we seem very anti-climate currently, but there will come a day where it would just be known that we do need all energy. There's not enough energy in the traditional system that we have, so we're going to need more. So look at different clean energy occupations, wind, turbines, solar, hydrogen. So look into those spaces and dynamics in those fields. Those are important. I'm in IT for an architect firm. Designers do leverage AI for designs, but they are still needed, but it does hurt entry-level position. This is very true. It is very true. It's going to hurt entry-level position that would kind of get boxed out, which in theory, you would think that if I'm having difficulty with the entry-level position, I may not be able to get like the advanced design position. But this is why if you're starting on the entry level, maybe AI could help you start on your own company and do your own clients. I'm just saying, but you still do need those interior designers that will help. And you may have to work a little bit harder to find and to work. And even IT. IT is a good one for the previous question they asked me. IT is a good trade to have. Cybersecurity, anything that can do with cybersecurity, digital protections, right? I think those are all good trades that you can have. And most of that, you don't have to have a degree. Some of it you do, but in certain areas, not all. Cool Blue. Thank you. I tried IT, but didn't get a certification. Unfortunately, I would try again, but suggestion, keep trying. Don't give up, my friend. And let me know how it goes, Cool Blue. All right, any other questions or comments before I go to OpenAI? So I want to talk about OpenAI. OpenAI announced yesterday that they are going from nonprofit to for-profit. I mean, how many of y'all knew that OpenAI or ChatGPT was a nonprofit? Just say yes or no. I'm just curious to get some poll action in the chat. If you knew ahead of time that OpenAI was a nonprofit, put yes. If you didn't know, put no. I'm just curious before I go on with this dynamic as an example. Sean is like, nope. It's a nonprofit. How many of you didn't know that OpenAI and ChatGPT was a nonprofit. Yo, the no's are coming in. Maureen, nope, had no idea. He who thinks, you're so smart. You're so smart. Arlo Edwards, nope, right? Teddy, nope. Nope. Cool Blue. Shamel, nope. What up, Shamel? Hobocop, nope. Right? Imagine this transformative company this whole time has been operating as a nonprofit. Is that not mind-blowing to y'all? Like, mind-blown. I always known they're a nonprofit, but it still gets to me that they were a nonprofit. They are now going for profit. Yeah, LLC, right? So now they are for profit. Why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because I just want to signal how big AI is and how big and transformational this is about to be. And I just want to just underscore, this is not to scare you at all, but this is just to underscore you how I need y'all, again, upskilled workforce displacements are becoming. Get with your elected officials. The midterms are coming. Elections are coming up. Do not let these people come to your churches, your sorority fraternity meetings, your civic organizations, your local teams, wherever you guys associate and congregate. Do not let them come and talk to you without you guys raising your hand about what are they going to do to protect your community from workforce displacement. Because when OpenAI goes from nonprofit to profit, that lets you know business is open. The shingles have been hung. They are looking to scale. They are looking for more investments. And it's going to change. It could change the functionality of OpenAI too as well. OpenAI has been very open source, open code. Everybody can kind of add on and learn and pull and develop. Can that change? I don't know. We don't know yet. Could they go from more educational to enterprise? That's seemingly what's happening right now. Right now, there's different tiers. There's a free service, there's a premium service, there's a pro service. Will those tiers get more, right? Will there be more paywalls and subscription-based needs and services? But here's the thing. What it's really allowing them to do is to now to be able to collect money from investors. Up to this point, for them operating as a nonprofit, they were capped on the amount of money that can be brought into them. They were also capped at different governance and different regulations as a nonprofit. I'm sure a lot of you have either served on nonprofits, worked at a nonprofit, volunteered at a nonprofit. There's a lot of rules that the board has to govern and policies that has to be associated with it, which didn't make them an easy investment because of those different rules. So now by them shifting to for-profit, they are now essentially operating more as they're doing as a different twist, but they're still able to do it more as a traditional company and more of a traditional company that people can invest in. So that is a signal right then that they are now about to scale even more. They are now open for investors, and they are looking to grow even faster and to create more products. And that is to let you know, if they're growing and scaling and create more products, if generative AI and ChatGPT has already entered the chat and is creating workforce displacement, what do you think is to come? That's why I praise it up. What do you think is to come? They have already been transformational with workforce displacement and transformation in work. What is to come? But I want to be very clear. I don't think ChatGPT is a bad thing, right? I am completely on the opposite side of the spectrum. It is a good thing. And I think it is such a good thing, particularly for small businesses, right? It's good for small businesses because it allows, I think, small business owners to help them scale, take on more clients. Hobocop, your example of your daughter interior design, I think was a good example for us to use. I don't have to go further with this example because I already did it. But the idea that as interior designer, you can scale from one client to 5, right? Using generative AI and ChatGPT products, right? How can we use it as an aid and as an additive thing, like going forward? But that's for me to let you guys know that they were a nonprofit, they're going for profit. They're open for business, for investors, take more money, to scale. This signifies how important this is. Before I go to gambling and tech, what do you guys think about that? Any questions or comments before I start getting on FanDuel, DraftKings? Where are we at? He who thinks, I am sure the open source aspect would definitely change. I think it's going to change too as well. I think there'll be a part of it. They still are going to be mission driven because there still is it's an interesting structure, but a part of their structure still will be mission driven. There's ties to their nonprofit. Their nonprofit, I think, has $120 billion stake in the new corporation, and that was intentional to help keep them mission driven. So that there still could be open sources, it could be educational still, and they still can focus on key categories in society like health and like education. So I think part of that is still going to go forward and be happening. And so that is going to be an important part of it and why it won't go away. I see there's some stock information. I don't really lean into stock. I mean, I'm very clear not to give any financial advice here. I just want to recognize that it is in the chat. Erica GM, agree on the benefits of ChatGPT, et cetera. We're seeing a lot of movement with innovation in sectors where it has been slower historically. I'm on the investing side of healthcare for context. See, exactly. Particularly for healthcare. I think it can be transformational, Erica, with healthcare. I think in the way that we could use generative AI products, quantum computing, quantum physics in order to help solve for incurable diseases like cancer, Alzheimer's, AIDS, sickle cell anemia, you name it. The most challenging, what we have always thought to be incurable diseases, because of this new technology, if it comes online and they work together, they can help solve. I don't want to go on record and saying they will solve it, but there is better chance for these incurable diseases to find a cure for them. And that's how I'll frame it. And for me, that's exciting. Erica, I would love your thoughts on that if you agree with that one. Get back in the chat, Erica, about that. Particularly as I now switch gears to the idea of gambling. Me and my team, we were talking yesterday, and we thought that it was really important that we talk about betting. And the way that these online tech platforms, they're still a tech platform, right? Don't get it twisted. It's the same dynamic as like Apple, Spotify, and Tidal. Those are tech platforms. Those are not music companies. Those are tech companies, right? So we keep looking at like FanDuel and DraftKings as like gambling companies or gambling entities. Yeah, but it's a tech company, right? And what we are noticing is just the amount of individuals that are engaging in gambling, in particular within men and boys. So I do have some data that I want to read off, and we want to make sure that we put data in here. High school and college age men are betting. College age, around 58% of college age men are betting. Get into this high school age number. Are you guys ready? 60 to 80% of high school boys are betting. How many of you have high school boys that are in the chat? Just to say yes, if you do. And I want to know, if you do, are your high school boys engaged in dealing with some of this betting that is happening? A part of what they're doing is betting on a particular area called prop betting. And what prop betting is, for those of you who may not know, it's the most easy examples for me to use is in basketball. Prop betting is you're betting on an individual instance, player, or circumstance to have an outcome in the game. You're not betting on the game itself if team A wins or team B wins. What you're doing is you're betting on a moment. Say, for example, player A is going to score under 10 points in the first quarter, right? That's a prop bet. Player B will only get 5 rebounds total for the game. That's a prop bet. So these young men are really betting on prop bets. And this is the part that is interesting, right? But I do want to give a data point though before I kind of editorialize on it. On how much do sites make from prop betting. One statistics that we found is that we don't have true statistics since these sites don't release information. However, if the U.S. sports betting industry made approximately $10.9 billion in revenue in 2023, and in prop site markets accounted for 20-30% of that, is plausible giving parlays other high margin bets, then operators might have made anywhere from $2 to $3 billion alone just from these prop betting. And so this idea that if you're able to make prop betting and gambling more safer, part of it would have to get rid of prop betting. But when you're looking at prop betting and bringing in that type of money, it's hard to imagine that prop betting would even go away. The other thing that makes this tech companies of betting so interesting, and the reason why I think that the leagues, professional leagues, have such an interesting relationship and partnership with that is because it helps keeps the viewer sticky, right? Generative AI and tech products have made, for instance, fantasy football much more engaging and much more easier to select your teams. A team member here, Kat, is big on fantasy football. I didn't do it this year. I did it last year. I'm bummed I didn't do it this year. But instead of like pouring over all the statistics, the data, books, articles about what their percentages are, generative AI can just do it for you. And then you can select your team members better. And as a result, you are more engaged in fantasy football. If you're more engaged in fantasy football, you're actually more engaged on Sundays and Thursdays and Monday nights. And so as a result, is what we use this term in business, particularly in the tech world, called sticky. Keeps the customer engaged, keeps them coming back for more. Sticky, you get it out, keeps them sticky, keeps them coming back for more, keeps them engaged, keeps them interested in the game, keeps them watching multiple games, not just your favorite football team, but now you're going to watch all the games, like all day. The afternoon game, the midday game, and the big game on the nighttime, and on the Monday night game. So it's creating this sticky environment. This is why these gambling companies are always going to be around, because it's really helping to grow these professional leagues here. And so I just want to just put that out there to be mindful of, if you have young kids, particularly boys, monitor what they're doing, particularly in high school. And even if you have young men in college, monitor what they're doing, ask them questions. Just don't do these things blindly, because it can also get into a dynamic of addictiveness, right? And habits that can be very costly in the end. He who thinks once the government would legalize gambling, they'll get money from the honest and dishonest. When my young daughter started talk about sports betting, I knew it can't be good. Yeah, I think, Kat, you had a friend. Kat had a friend, a producer had a friend whose daughter was actually heavily betting.
Yes, and not doing her job.
And not doing her job. That's right.
To go to her job because she's betting.
She was betting so much, she was no longer going to her job, right? Like, this is what we're saying about some of the downfalls and sides of having legal gambling. But again, folks, I'm not saying this is an issue everyone needs to take up, but if you do care about this issue, this is a space that can and should be monitored, right? And you can work with your elected officials. Again, the reason why I bring this up is because everything can have guardrails. Everything can be doable. Everything is plausible, and everything can be monitored and can be checked. So if you care about this, there is ways that you can engage, again, with your elected officials, your state officials, and federal government to ensure that there's more safety around this space when it comes to that. I think y'all gonna get sick of me this year, because I'm gonna keep telling y'all, it all roads lead to your elected official, right? And all roads lead to your city and state officials. Gambling is a state by state. Legalized gambling is a state by state case, right? There isn't like a one Superman federal government that has come in, so every state has different rules and regulations. This is when voting matters in your state, knowing who your governor is, but more importantly, who your state legislatures are, right? That is so important when it comes to that. All right, folks, what's up? Questions, comments? It could be about anything, about gambling, OpenAI, nonprofits, for-profits, Amazon, UPS. And those gambling companies put a disclaimer on their commercials. They believe they're clear and free. I don't know, maybe. I don't think most people read those commercials about those medicines that come up, right, during those games, about the different medicines and the impact that it can have. I just think that I don't know if those have major impact, but at least these companies can check off the box that they did do it and that it was in there. So there is that dynamic. All right, folks.
Someone on IG wants to know about Venezuela, which I know you wrote about today, if you want to give it a quick 5 minutes.
Yes. No, question about Venezuela. That's a really, really, really good question. Yeah, no. It's fine. This is we have a question on IG. What's up, IG? I'm so glad IG is active out here in the chats. There is this idea of, when it comes to the military authorization, and at this brass tacks, we saw there were 14 killings that occurred on Monday that the Trump administration used to go after what they're deeming as narco-terrorists. And what they're deeming as narco-terrorists are drug cartels. And they are using the phrasing of narco-terrorist as a way to justify military engagement, because they believe that these drug cartels are enemy combatants. And what the military authorization by Congress allows is for the president, with permission from Congress, there's certain exceptions where it's not needed an approval, but in general, can use military force against enemy combatants. But there is no legal definition for narco-terrorists. And also, too, drug cartels do not fall in the scope of enemy combatants. Are drug cartels bad? Yes. But drug cartels are illegal. They're not doing harm from a combatant perspective and attacking the United States as a whole. The enemy combatant that give authorization of military in the terrorist category comes from the 9/11 dynamic and Al-Qaeda and different terrorist organizations that directly attacked the United States, and also too has used, have been able to, the Congress granted the president to be able to use military operations in order to go after those. That is not the case here. And by law, the president, because of these are drug cartels, must be given due process. If they're not giving due process, this is not legal. So as a result, the question is now, what can be done? This is going to be a very critical part of this. What can be done is Congress can step in and say, you have to come to Congress if you're going to have congressional, if you want to do military authorization. Congress could amend the military authorization to be able to extend to scenarios to fight drug trafficking. But that's a high bar for Congress to do. If Congress does not hold any hearings, one would think and can imagine that Congress is giving up a major part of congressional duties, which is military authorization, and also to granting and giving approval. This is what the framers of our Constitution was really keen on. They wanted to make sure that our president could not act unilaterally and could not make haste. There is this thing that the founders were thinking about when it comes to sovereign expansion, right? Meaning they were concerned that if a president was to come in, they didn't want the president to go in and just at will use military fight and might to take over countries, right? And to gain territory. So there's always this check and balance that the president had to go seek approval from Congress in order to do it. Now, there's exceptions, and every president has had some exceptions. Democrat presidents, Republican presidents have gone to exceptions. But this does not fall under the exception. The question remains that if Congress does not act and if Congress doesn't do anything, what precedent does this set going forward for other presidents, whether Republican or Democrat, to do the same? The question is Congress giving up its authority and giving up one of its main things that it has been empowered in the Constitution from the founders of this social experiment, our democracy, intended for them to have, which is that checks and balance. The administration is holding steadfast. The administration is saying that they believe that they have grounds to stand on with this. But the danger of that goes a little bit further is as we are engaging in killing individuals that has not had due process, does that actually interrupt the efforts of curtailing drug trafficking? Do Venezuela, Colombia, South America, Mexico, they stop sharing intelligence data with us? Are we taking our eye off of the ball of how these drugs are even getting into them to begin with? we should be also be looking at China, where all these fentanyl labs actually are existing. So this is a larger narrative of what impact do you have on intelligence sharing, working in collaboration and partnership with these countries in order to curtail the drug trafficking. What is going to be the role of Congress? Do they step in and hold hearings in order to hold this administration accountable to ensure that the proper due process is given to these individuals who are being murdered, or there is cause for them to believe that they are smuggling? Does Congress need to amend the act to include drug cartels, which is not even a probability, but I just want to put it out there so we have all the facts and data on the table. And then what happens when it comes to international law, because we are impeding on sovereign areas and sovereign waters, international waters. That's when it gets tricky with the Geneva Convention, because these are international waters are neutral. So that is this quick summary of what is happening with the 14 killings that happens off the coast of Central and South America. So I hope that answered your question. Let me know if not. I want to get to my Dodgers in closing, and I want to say something quickly about Jamaica. First, I want to say, go Dodgers. That's it. That's all I got. That's a text. That's a tweet. That's a call. That's a phone call. Go Dodgers. Love me some Mookie Betts. What up, Mookie? I see you. Shohei Ohtani is the man. Dodgers are taking it. They had a difficult day yesterday, but they're going to take it. But most importantly, I want to end on the note on Jamaica and in Cuba. But Jamaica got hit with a Category 5 storm yesterday that has ran through, and we haven't even seen the full scope and damages of what happened in Jamaica because of communication and technology is just down, so we can't get the full scope of it. But Jamaica does not have the infrastructure that is capable of absorbing a Category 5 storm at 185 miles per hour winds. We have to keep thinking about the idea of climate change, because how did we get to a Category 5 in Jamaica? This is the first time in history that it's been this level. How do we get to 185 mile per hour winds? It's because the Caribbean Ocean is warming, people. Climate change is real. Climate change is real. So we have to, as a society, begin to lean more into climate and what is happening. How do we adjust for this? How do we prepare for this? Because what is to come, if it's happening now, you can best believe it's going to happen in the future again, because the ocean isn't cooling, the ocean is warming. So how do we then prepare to think about the Caribbean islands, not just for tomorrow, but for next year, right? How do we engage in that? And even if you don't believe in science, climate change, or you feel you may not have a touch point with Jamaica, we all love to travel to Jamaica. We all love to vacation in the Caribbean at some point. It's going to have an impact on your Caribbean vacations. This is why you should care. Cuba is being hit right now with a Category 3 storm. Melissa has now transitioned over to Cuba. Cuba also does not have the infrastructure in order to sustain this type of impact. And what's going to happen to Cuba the day after? And so just wanted to make sure that we came on just to really talk about, to keep Jamaica and Cuba, in our minds, our hearts, our prayers, our energy space, whatever thing it is you do and that you believe in. At the end, we are going to put some links up on the YouTube in the description of where you can support and go and give your resources. Obviously, the most easy one to go to is the Red Cross, but we're going to put some other ones up too as well that you guys also you can give blood to as well. So I think it's really important that we talk about that, but also to talk about it from the climate change. Did we get the email?
59.
Did we get the email?
No.
Okay.
Or by midnight tonight.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So listen, I love y'all so much. This was so much fun. I hope you guys are feeling not better about workforce displacement, but we're feeling more informed about the why and the how and what we could do next, right? The power is on us. The power is within us. All right. I love y'all. Thank y'all for rocking. I cannot wait to see y'all next Wednesday right here, same time, same place. Hit me up at I am Mike Muse, MUSNSAME, and tune into the Mike Muse Show. All right. I'm about to end the stream now and be a big geek. Peace.